Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Crystal and this is my social thread. To all my returning viewers, welcome back. Thank you for coming to watch me again. And if you are new here and you are liking my content, please kindly like and subscribe. My sewing channel, as I say, is called My Social Thread, and this is where I talk about all my sewing makes for myself and for my children. I talk sewing and patterns, tips and tricks, things that I have done, things that I found difficult, and just generally a bit of chit chat as well about my sewing journey and also about my large family life. So today, as the title suggests, for those of you that have watched my previous video, I did ask for some advice about which coat pattern to go for my next project, and I was choosing between the By Hand London Romana coat and the Sew Over It London Vivienne coat. And as I said, going by the title, you'll know that I have chosen the Sew Over It Vivienne coat, and I will go into the reasons why now. I will go into the reasons why. So basically, I had both the Vivienne coat and the Romana coat. Actually, the Romana coat I bought a good probably 5 years ago now, and I had the A0 printed out around 5 years ago as well, and the instructions printed out, and so that was all ready to go. And then I had recently had the Vivienne pattern printed as well, so I had both of them, and I was just choosing between the two. So the Vivienne coat is by Sew Over It, as I say. It's part of their vintage e-dreaming, is it called a workbook? I can't remember. Ebook. It's their ebook, vintage e-dreaming ebook, and this is the coat pattern that they have. Sorry, I did spill some tea on here, or barley. This is the Vivienne coat here. For those of you that do know, Sew Over It do quite a lot of old vintage pattern. Well, vintage sort of, what's the word? Their aesthetic is very vintage orientated, if that makes sense. And so this particular pattern is a coat. As you can see, it has lapels and a collar. It has a two-piece sleeve. It's not princess seams. It is princess seams actually at the front. Sorry, princess seams at the front. Is it princess seams at the front? Yes. So basically, it's two front pieces at the front, two back bodice pieces with a center back seam, and then you actually have two side panels here, and that, I suppose, creates the princess seams at the back and the princess seams at the front. It's got welt pockets under these flaps, and you have a choice of sort of a back belt, so it's just sort of a strip of fabric at the back with two buttons, or a full tie belt as well. And so they're the two versions, just the different belt versions. And this is, I'll show you some pictures. So that's obviously Lisa making it look really, really nice and lovely. And then there's another model there that's, I said this is in a wool, I assume, and this one's kind of like in a twill, or like, yeah, it looks like a twill to me, a twill coating. So this goes from a size 6, which is a bust of 31, waist of 24, all the way up to a size 20, which is a bust of 45, waist of 38. Now, the reason I chose this, let me go through the other pattern now. So it's the Romana coat pattern, which I have just made a PDF pattern envelope myself. So this is a Romana pattern by Hand London, and this was named after Romana, who is one of the Sewing Bee contestants that didn't win, but she went quite far, I think. So this one is a UK 6 to 20, bust of 33 inches, waist of 26 inches, which is, sorry, bust of 32 inches, waist of 25 inches, which is a size 6, all the way up to a size 20, which is a bust of 45 inches, waist of 38 inches. So this one is a bit more fitted. So the Sew Over It one isn't as fitted, which is quite nice. This is a bit more fitted. It's got princess seams as well at the front and the back, center back seam, vent, two-piece sleeve, collars, lapels, and welt pockets as well. The variation for this, I think you can have one button, or you can have like a double-breasted, so you can have 4 buttons, and it's presumably the front pieces are, oh, lapel mode, oh dear. The front pieces are a bit wider, so you can cross it over. Dan, have you got the charger for this? Sorry, I had to just recharge my phone or recharge my iPad. So, yes, so they're the two coats that I was choosing between. I hope the colour, is the colour okay with this? Let me just check if I can change the colour. Oh, which one was I on? This one? Oh. So the reason that I went with a Vivienne coat in the end, I think a couple of you voted for the Vivienne. Most of you did vote for the Romana, and I'm sorry that I didn't actually go with the majority votes. And the reasons being, the Vivienne coat is less fitted, so it's easier to fit, and there's less pieces because, actually, to be fair, I don't know how many pieces are in the Romana, but it just looks like there's a lot more pieces in the Romana. The Vivienne coat actually did have quite a lot of pieces if you count all the, so the pattern pieces, you have 1, 2, and then the sides 3, and then the back 4, and then the collar 5, 6, the sleeves 7, 8. So you have sort of 8 main pieces. Then you have the belt, 9, 10, 2 different pieces, and then you have the welt pocket, which I think consists of 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. So there was quite a lot of pieces still, and then you also had pattern pieces for all the interfacing that was required, which was quite a lot as well. I'll pop up a photo actually of all the interfacing that I've done using tailoring interfacing. So I decided to go with a Vivienne coat because of those 2 reasons. Plus also, when I was looking at the measurements of what size to make with the Romana coat, the measurements were just not, just wasn't liking the measurements that I fell under. So with the Romana coat, I would have had to make a UK size 18. A UK size 18. I would have had to make a UK size 18. Now, there's nothing wrong, obviously, with a UK size 18 if you are a UK size 18. I personally, I know it doesn't matter and it shouldn't matter, but for me, it kind of does matter a little bit. So before I had children, I was a size 8 to 10, and then I slowly crept up to sort of a 10, 12, and now I did... my youngest baby is 9 months old, and I'm sort of like a 12-ish, 12, sometimes 14, but kind of 12 roundabouts, which is fine. I've learned to accept that, and I'm actually I've learned to accept that I'm a good, decent size 12, and I think that's, for me, acceptable, and I, as I say, embrace that, and it's fine. And also because I make my own clothes now, I'm not too worried about sizes of ready-to-wear clothes, because obviously I make my own clothes. Anyhow, so as I was looking at these measurements, I was just really saddened by the fact that according to the by hand London measurements, I would be a UK size 18, and I just couldn't bring myself to make that size. And I know that sounds really awful, but yeah, I mean, I am where I am. You know, for those of you that don't know, I have 9 children. That's my husband just over there in the corner. I have 9 children. My eldest is 16 years old, and my youngest is a 9-month-old baby boy called Theo. And yeah, so after all the years, obviously, of having babies, I am where I am. But having said that, obviously, my children, I would have to say, are, you know, I guess my biggest achievement, really. And that goes to say a lot, because when I was a lot younger, my biggest achievement would have been, I suppose, before I got married. Oh, yeah. So before I got married, my biggest achievement would have been qualifying as a solicitor or a lawyer, if for my international viewers. So I qualified as a lawyer in my early 20s. And I practiced in criminal defence for a couple of years before going into private practice. So at the time, that was my biggest achievement, and I really thoroughly enjoyed that. I know this is a whole complete tangent now. There's nothing to do with sewing, but anyway, it's part of the story. So I really did enjoy that. That was my biggest achievement. And now, you know, I'm married. I've been married now for 17 years, and the children are pretty much... my biggest achievement today. So anyway, that's what I'm trying to get at is, obviously, my shape and size has changed over the years, and I'm sure you understand. I won't go into it. So anyway, now going to the Sew Over It Vivienne coat, I know that in the past I have been a size 12 or a 10 in their patterns in the past. And as I was looking at the measurements for the Vivienne coat, I actually fell into a size 12, which I was very happy with. So in the size 12, so according to the body measurements, I would have been in the 14, actually 14 at the bust, and then actually a 12 or a 10 at the waist, and then the hip is fine because it's quite loose, as it were. So I cut out a toile, so I cut out the pattern pieces, I cut out a size 14, and then I graded it in the waist to a size 12, and I did size 14 arms, size 14 everywhere apart from the waist, which I went down to a size 12. I cut that out, I made a toile, and then I tried it on, and I will actually show you what I've done. So I'll show you. I just made a toile out of just some fabric that I had in my stash. I don't even know what it is. It's like a knit, kind of cheap knit fabric that I just had in my stash. Really, I should have done it in a what's it called, in a non-stretch woven fabric, just to get the actual gist of what it would look and feel like, but I think it works fine. So at the moment I'm wearing quite a thick sweatshirt, so it's going to be a bit bulky, but I did try it on the other day with a long sleeve dress, a Georgie dress that I had made, and it fit perfectly, if not a little bit big. And for this particular coat, I won't be wearing it with casual things as such. I would probably be wearing it, would be like my Sunday coat. I would probably only wear like a long sleeve blouse or a dress, and maybe even like a lightweight cardigan. So I don't need that much room in the coat. So anyway, I'll show you my toile. Yes, so I've only done one arm because you only need one arm, and I'll just put that on. And yeah, and I was actually quite happy with it. The toile came together quite quickly because I just did the 2 back pieces, the 2 front pieces, and the 2-piece sleeves. And also it's got a side bit there. Let me just show you. So this is the front pieces, and the I assume this is the facing for the collar. And then you've got the side pieces there on either side. And then the 2 back pieces at the back as well, and a 2-piece sleeve. You can see that's the under sleeve and that's the over sleeve. So this I have marked. Oh, let me step up on this stool. Sorry, I'm wearing quite a baggy jumper with lots of stains on it, but just at the end of the day with the baby and everything, I've just marked the buttons, so that's where it will close. So if I just pin that there, or just pretend to pin it, this is essentially what the coat will look like fit-wise on me, and I think it's not bad. So this was a size 14 everywhere apart from the waist was a size 12, and there is still quite a lot of room in there, and also in the sleeves there's quite a lot of room, like that's quite a lot of room there. And so what I then decided to do, it is pulling there because I haven't really eased it in properly, and the what's this called, the shoulder seam is kind of off my shoulder, but I'm hoping that with the seam allowance of the collar, that will bring that in a little bit, so hopefully that will sit just perfectly on my shoulder. So anyway, I was quite happy with the toile, and so I decided when I when I went back to my pattern, to reduce the sleeves. Sorry, I reduced the sleeves down to a size 12 and the armhole to a size 12, just so that the amount of ease of the sleeve will fit perfectly in the arm sike. And that's all I did. So it's basically 14 at the bust and 12 everywhere else. I think that's what I went for. And so I cut that out. I cut it out on my fabric. And it was actually quite nice cutting out wool, because it just, obviously it doesn't move around, it's stable, and it doesn't, you know, it's not wavy or anything, so it's really nice to cut through. With my rotary cutter, I put a fresh blade in, which I don't normally do, but I thought because it was wool and it was expensive, I'd put a fresh blade in. I also put a fresh needle in my machine, which I don't know if you guys do, but I keep forgetting to not put a fresh needle in. Or also, I think they say you should put a fresh needle for every new project, which I do not do. But I have noticed in my machine recently that as I'm sewing, sometimes the fabric gets caught underneath one of the gaps in the, one of the gaps in the foot plate. And I'm thinking, because the needle isn't sharp enough, as it's going through, the needle isn't going through the fabric, but it's pushing the fabric into that gap, and then it's getting wound up, it's getting knotted underneath, and then I have to take off the plate, thread plate, not sure what it's called, and then do all of that. So I've changed my machine needle as well. What else was I going to say? So yes, so I've cut out all my pieces. I've got a piece here to show you. So I don't know if you remember, this is my 100% burgundy wool. It was beautiful to cut out. And I have also interfaced it with tailoring interfacing. So there's lots of interfacing. As I showed you the picture before, that was all the little bits of interfacing that I've done. So I didn't think I had any tailoring interfacing left. So I ordered some from New Craft House together with some shoulder pads. And then as I was just going around my sewing room, I did manage to find probably about 1 meter of tailoring interfacing. So I was able to cut out all the small bits and fuse that to my wall pieces. And so that's sort of a piece there. This is the back piece, and so this is the back top end of the coat. And then right at the bottom, this is the vent part here, and that's interfacing again there. So I've managed to interface all my small pieces and parts of my big pieces, but I still did need more of the tailoring interfacing. I think the front piece and the side pieces need fully interfaced, so the whole pieces are fully interfaced. So I got that, and that came today actually, and I'll show you what tailoring interfacing looks like. It's actually really, really lovely quality. So tailoring interfacing, the first time I heard about tailoring interfacing was actually from Sew Over It. I think they were talking about it in their, is it called their Chloe coat? I'm not sure what coat they have. They have a coat, sorry. They have a coat that has just a round neckline. I'm not sure what it's called, but they recommended tailoring interfacing, and they used to stock it as well, but Sew Over It no longer stock it. I did email them to find out if they would get any more, but they didn't get back to me. But I managed to find it in New Craft Warehouse. So this is what it's like. I don't know if it comes in a different colorway, but I've only ever seen it in white. And it's like fabric, and then the reverse is your gluey. It just feels like, well, like a net, but it's plastic and it's gluey. So when you iron on this side onto your fabric, that will then fuse to your wool. And apparently it's well, it's very nice because it kind of gives structure and stability, but you can still move, so it's not like it doesn't create any like stiffness, as it were, just structure, but it still allows the fabric that you use, such as the wool, to sort of move naturally. So anyway, that's really, really nice. So I got that from New Craft Warehouse, so I can now fuse my front pieces and my side pieces fully, and then actually start making the coat. So whilst I was waiting for the tailoring interfacing, I did have a look through all the instructions, and I tried to get my head around all of the welt pocket instructions just to see if there's anything else I could do whilst I was waiting. And actually the welt pockets I couldn't do without interfacing the front, what is it called, the front facing and the front facing and the sides, I think. So I had to wait for that. But yeah, so with the welt pockets, in the meantime, I did have a look at Lisa. She does have a tutorial on her YouTube channel doing the welt pockets. The only thing I found about the welt pockets that she was doing, she wasn't doing it as part of the coat. She was just doing it on a piece of fabric just to show you how to do the welt pockets. And I thought that actually it would have been nice if there was actually a tutorial for doing the coat, because the coat is quite meaty and there's quite a lot of instructions. And it's quite an expensive make, so I think any tutorials for these sort of patterns are really, really needed, I think. Lisa did say that there is a tutorial on Stitch School about the welt pocket, so I don't know if there is one on the Vivienne coat. I've not heard about one on the Vivienne coat specifically, but there is a very thorough guide to sewing up a welt pocket in Stitch School, which you have to pay for, which I didn't want to pay for. So, but I mean, the instructions seemed okay to me. So where was I going with this? I'm rambling on again. So that's that. So that was the interfacing. From the New Craft House, I also bought some shoulder pads, which is what I'm going to be using for my sleeves. And I went for white. And the reason why I went for white is because I wanted to be able to see what I was doing with the white. Doesn't really make sense. It's all going to be covered anyway with, you can't see it through the wool because the wool is obviously thick and opaque, and then there will be a lining as well, so you won't be able to see it. But I just like the idea of having white shoulder pads, so I suppose you can sort of see the white shoulder pads, and then this, anyway, I chose white. So that's what I got from New Craft House. And also, what was the other big thing? Oh, so in terms of getting all my things together for making this coat, I already had the wool and some of the interfacing, as I said. And I've actually already made the lining. That's what I did as well. I made the lining, which is kind of like making the coat as well, because it's exactly the same pieces minus the front facing, I believe. And this was the Lady McElroy cotton lawn that I showed you last time. It is a bit creased, but this is my lining now. Let me just show you. So that's and then with the sleeves, I have now learned that really you should really go for the slippery, is it acetate lining, just so for ease of getting the coat in and out, because even a lawn, you think that's quite silky and quite smooth and easy to slippery enough for your hand to go in, your arm to go in and out of a coat sleeve. But I have made a coat with a cotton lawn lining, and it is still quite difficult. Like, I think the slippery coat lining is definitely recommended, and I would always do the slippery lining. Anyway, this is what I've done. Unfortunately, there is no pattern matching. I only had, I think, 2 meters of this lawn. So there's no pattern matching. That's the centre back there. These are the sleeves, and I'll put it on. So again, I am wearing this chunky jumper, so it is going to be a bit tight, I think. Can't even put it on now. And dun, 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 dun. Top is covered in all muck and stuff. So this, as you can see, there's a lot of fabric here. This is a sweatshirting, lots of extra fabric, so it's actually not going to go on. It's not going to look that nice, but here is essentially what it looks like. So this is my sleeve here. And for those of you that think this looks weird, obviously the outer shell will go on top, and then your lining will be as such. I think that feels really tight now. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because what I'm wearing underneath. Anyhow, hopefully that all fits. So that's my lining, and I should have just worn something more. I don't know why that feels a bit tight now. So yeah, no, I'll show you. So as I said, when I put the what's it called, this toile, I did think the arm and the sleeve was quite wide, and so I went to, that was a size 14 arm, so I went down to a size 12. Let me just measure that together with the current one and see how much. And I did calculate that by going down to a 12, I'd be taking ½ an inch off the circumference of the sleeve, and I thought that was fine. Let me just double check. Yeah, so not too much actually. So if you can see, I don't know why that's feeling quite tight. So in terms of the sleeve, actually not much has come off. Maybe like a tad, like a little slither. And then in terms of the arm, let me just check. I've done it now, which is really annoying, but yeah. Okay. That much has come off. So, I mean, push comes to shove. I mean, it's already cut out. Push comes to shove. If the coat should fit, I think. But if the lining's too tight, I'll just have to make another lining. But I mean, I'll leave it at that for now. And I'll try to go again. I'll try it on again without this chunky jumper, and I'll see how it goes. So anyway, that's the lining. So with the lining, very straightforward. Unfortunately, where I shortened the coat pattern, I don't exactly know what happened, because I measured all the pieces and I shortened them exactly the same. But for some reason, the bottom of the side panel and the front facing, I didn't have enough, so I had to add a piece there. And so hopefully nobody will be able to see that. Plus also, when I attach this to the coat, this will be kind of folded in like that, I'm assuming. So I mean, it is what it is. I can't really do much else about that. So that's that. Also, what I wanted to say was, for the centre back, they will have you just, there's two pleats, there's two notches where you're supposed to create some wearing ease at the back. And what they say in the pattern is just to join the two notches together and then sew down. So then it was kind of like this. And I just thought that was a bit odd because it was in the middle of the pattern. You only have sort of like a pleat going one way, and I didn't understand it, or maybe I read it wrong, I'm not sure. So what I decided to do instead was kind of create a box pleat or an inverted box pleat. I'm not sure which one it is. So I used the same notches, but I just folded them into each other. So then you kind of have that wearing ease as you would in the back of the shirt, but the reverse, maybe it is a reverse box pleat. Anyway, that's what I did for the lining. And yes, what else did I want to say? So that was that. And in terms of the tools that I needed, so I know that I was going to need a clapper, which I have. Where's the clapper, Sienna? Could you pass it for me? Thank you, Sienna. I was going to need a wooden clapper, which I already had from making my other coats. And that was from Millwoods, I think. It's going on the desk. Oh dear. Thank you, Sienna. Wooden clapper from Millwoods. It's made out of hardwood, I think. It's not softwood. And the aim of the game is when you press your wool, you then put the clapper on top and you allow the wool to, wool to cool down. And essentially the moisture from the wool then gets extracted via this wood, and it sets the seam, and it keeps that seam nice and flat as well. And then you've got the point turner here for collars and pointy bits, I suppose, and also this bit here you could also use to iron your small seams like collars. I guess you couldn't do a sleeve in here. Anyway, that's what that's for. So clapper, I think these are about £25, but I bought this about a year ago, so I have used it quite a lot. I haven't, that's a lie. I've made 2 coats, so I've used it twice, but lots of times within those 2 periods. So that's that. I also needed a tailor's ham and a sleeve press, and I decided to make my own. So I did have some scrap fabric, and I looked up various patterns for tailor's ham and sleeve presses, which are also called tailor's sausage apparently. So and I ended up, I know Tilly and the Buttons have a pattern for this, free patterns, but I ended up going for a pattern by Elewa, E-L-E-W-A, only because I quite liked the shape of hers. It was quite a big, this is the pattern piece, it's quite a big nice shape. I know that Tilly and the Buttons ones, their pattern, similar size, maybe a tiny bit smaller, but they have like darts on the corners to curve the edges in, and I didn't really want to be sewing darts. And also when you're pressing with a dart, I think if you're pressing like a blouse or something, I would think that that dart might create an impression on the fabric, so I didn't really want anything with darts. Likewise with the Elewa pattern, they had the sausage pattern as well, the tailor's sausage. So that's that one there. And then the versions I made, I had some leftover herringbone wool from Rainbow Fabrics Kilburn. I believe it's ex Ted Baker as well, in this lovely colourway. So that's just, look at that beautiful herringbone there. Ooh, look at the beautiful herringbone there. And I have just used some lilac canvas for the reverse. And so that's that one. And then this is my tailor's ham. I'm just loving that fabric and the colour on that. And that's reverse. And essentially what you do, you just, I mean, it's quite simple. Right sides together, you sew all the way around, leaving a gap. You turn it in, inside, right way out. And then you stuff it. And the options for stuffing were scraps of knit fabric or wood shavings. And I went to my local pet store and I managed to get a small bale of wood shavings from Pets at Home for like £1.99. So it's this size, and I've used all of that. So £1.99 from Pets at Home. And I just basically stuffed it and then sewed up the, oh, that's not very good. Sewed up the hole using a ladder stitch. And when it says you have to stuff it, and the instructions are keep stuffing it with wood shavings or your knit fabrics, and when you think you can't stuff it anymore, stuff it some more. And I did find that actually every time I thought it's nice and firm there, every time I thought that I had stuffed it enough, if I was to put my fingers in and sort of compress all of the wood shavings, I found that there was always like more space to put more, so I kept stuffing it and stuffing it and stuffing it. The only problem with that is then when it comes to sewing up the hole, it's then a bit tricky because it is so fully compact, but that's essentially what you need. You need a nice secure surface, a nice firm surface to be able to iron your rounded seams. So I'm thinking like for princess seams, you sort of can iron on here, and for other curved edges, I can't think of any at the moment. I guess for collars and things as well. This in particular is for sleeves, so if you put it through your sleeve and then you can just iron that top bit, especially the seam where you need to set it using the clapper, and then you don't have sort of iron lines onto the other side of the sleeve, so it just makes the coat just a bit more neater and crisper and more professional looking. So the other thing I wanted to say was there was a lady that had made this coat, and I saw her pictures on Instagram, and as I said before, not many people have made the Vivienne coat. I think there's probably about 10 people that have made it, and one of the ladies that had made it was this particular lady. I will pop up her name and her Instagram account if you wanted to have a look, but she has a lovely video on her vlog just going through her Vivienne coat. It's a lovely one. Hers is actually a burgundy as well. But she recommended a couple of classes on Craftsy. Now, I've heard of Craftsy. I've never used it. I've always heard of Craftsy. Sort of, they do cooking tutorials, knitting, crochet, all sorts of crafts, I suppose, card making, sewing, that sort of thing. So anyway, she swears by this. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze. She swears by this class by Kenneth D. King, I believe, and he does a class on, he does a tailoring class, making up a jacket. And in that jacket, in that tutorial, I have learned, it's basically a course, so I think it spans over about 5 lessons. It's about like an hour a lesson. And I've learned so much from it, and it was just quite nice to have something to watch, like when I'm like feeding the baby, or I'm just sort of just sitting around, you know, I just put the iPad on and I watch this course. It's actually really quite educational, so I really enjoyed watching it. So Kenneth D. King is a tailor, designer, that sort of thing, and I will be using some of his tailoring tricks which I learned from that class, so I do highly recommend it. Also Craftsy, when I went on there, I think the classes, so it's a year, you can do a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription, and at the time when I first looked, I think it was like $11. It's an American company, $11 per month, or like $30 for the year. And then I spoke to my husband about it and said, oh, what do you think, anyhow, when I went back to go you know, do some more research about Craftsy, get some reviews and things, they were doing an offer for a whole year subscription for £1.50 or $1.50, which I thought was amazing. And then they would only charge you, so you can cancel at any time, and they will only charge you when the, so at the end, so I started in the beginning of February, so they'll charge me just before February 2025, they will charge me the full, I guess, $120. So I have made a note to cancel before then. And what else was I going to say? So definitely, yeah, I definitely recommend that class. That's Kenneth D. King. Also, there's another class that talks about doing linings and especially back vents. My husband wants to, do you want to get out? Okay, you can go out. You want to say hello? Yeah. And back vents. So I will probably put it in the description, the 2 classes. And you can also buy the classes individually. I think not the class, so the course consists of quite a few classes, but you can buy the courses individually, and you have that forever. I think it's $39.99, and you have that course forever. Obviously, with the subscription, you only have access to the courses for as long as you're subscribed. And what was I going to say? So Kenneth D. King, he did just go on about how to stay your curved edges. So where you would normally just do stay stitches on a curved edge, he advises to have strips of, is it called calico fabric, and you cut them on a bias so that you can then manipulate them to go around the curves, and then you stay stitch on top of that. That just adds extra structure, extra security, especially in a jacket that is going to, or in a coat that is going to have a lot of wear and sort of wear. The other thing that he was going on about was creating the perfect sort of sleeve head, they call it. So in America, so it's American, I call my sleeve sort of this poof here, I call it a sleeve head, they call it a sleeve, I don't know what they call it, something else, not a sleeve head. But anyhow, setting in a sleeve beautifully, where the ease kind of, there's no puckers, and you kind of have that kind of really nice, I don't even know what to call it, like a curve, and it just looks really beautifully tailored. And he goes through all those details, so I'm going to be using those. So I'm not going to be using the ice ball, which Sew Over It have in their instructions. I'm going to be using the shoulder pads, and also a sleeve head. So that's it. So they don't call this the sleeve head, I'm not sure what they call it, but what they do refer to as a sleeve head is a piece of fabric that goes inside, in between the shoulder, in between the bodice and the sleeve, to create almost like the sleeve puff for the Fabric Godmother peony dress. You know, they have a sleeve puff to keep the puff of the sleeve nice and puffy. So their one isn't as puffy, but it's kind of like a sleeve head that you inserted just to keep that structure on the sleeve. Anyway, it will become more apparent when I will be doing probably about 2 or 3 parts to this Vivienne coat. So I'll do 2 or 3 vlogs from start to finish, just to go through all the processes that I am doing. So I will be showing you all of that. But it's just, I just learned so much, and I do really recommend that tutorial. Also with the vents, I know that what's her name, Sarah Quashie, who used to be Sarah Bales, who is Super Bale Sews. She is the model for Tilly and the Buttons. She does the Lyra, she does the plus size modeling for Tilly and the Buttons, and also Sew Over It as well. She has a vlog on the Vivienne coat, and I don't even know where I'm going with this. So Sarah, sleeves, oh yes, so in her vlog she does talk, there is a lot of hand stitching at the bottom, where you have to hand stitch the lining to the hem. Now this class in Craftsy from this lady called Sarah, I'm not sure what it is, but I will post the description below. She shows you how to fully hand stitch a lining with a vent onto a coat beautifully. And the other lady, I'm sorry, I don't know her name, I will pop it up above. The other lady that I saw on Instagram that taught that and recommended the Craftsy classes, she'd followed that tutorial, and hers is beautifully made. And so I'm hoping to, I don't like hand stitching, because I find that my hand stitching isn't the best, and it's almost like, you know, it's the last finishing touches, and I might just ruin it with my poorly hand stitched finishing. So I'm hoping to do that, and she explains it really well. I have watched it already. She explains it really well, so hopefully when I get to that stage, I will then have her video next to me, and I will watch how she does the vent lining fully hand stitched and just beautifully mitered and everything else. So that's that. What else did I want to say? So that's the Craftsy classes. That's the oh, and also another thing that I watched was Daria pattern making. So she is on Instagram and on YouTube as well. I think she's well known. Well, what I associate her with, she has this, excuse me, a beautiful bustier dress, which is lovely, and it's just not, I personally wouldn't wear it because I like to be a bit more covered, but that's, I think, what she's known for, or what I see a lot about her on Instagram is the, you know, samples of her bustier dress, people that have made it. But she has some lovely vlogs on YouTube going through some tailoring details as well, and she too uses a sleeve head, and just has a lovely way of creating the ease in her sleeve cap That's what the Americans call it. They call it the sleeve cap. I call it the sleeve head. So the sleeve cap, creating that lovely volume in the sleeve cap to give it that beautiful tailored polished look. So I'm going to be doing that basically. What else did I want to say? So that's why I have chosen the Vivienne coat, and that is why I don't know why I just said that. So I've chosen the Vivienne coat, as you know. So I'm actually really enjoying it. I have taken it slowly, so I am going to do, as I say, a couple more vlogs to get to the end of this. Once I've made the garment, then I can show you that as well. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, that's it, I think. Oh, I just did want to show you my coat that I was referring to when I said that I had made a coat previously, but it wasn't the nicest coat. So it was the Heather Blazer, which was my project for Jenny Stitches, and I extended it to a coat. But the Heather Blazer doesn't have a back vent, so I created a back vent just using sort of a DIY tutorial. And the back vent in itself is nice. It's just that how the lining is attached is really poorly attached. I did follow some tutorials, but it was just very difficult for me to. Maybe if I had seen Sarah's class in Craftsy, I would have done a better job. But let me show you the coat. It's in a beautiful navy wool. It's actually dead stock ex-designer Laura Ashley. That's it, Laura Ashley. Dead stock wool, navy wool. And we've got this lovely cotton lawn lining. And again, the sleeves are in shiny, slippery acetate lining. And this is the coat here. And I will show you my back vent. See, where is it? Aha, there you go. You can see it's not very nice. It's just so when it hangs, when you're wearing it, that just puckers there. Let me see what it would look like if you're wearing. There you go. It's just not very nice. You could just see that horrible pucker there. And I have tried, trust me, I've unpicked it probably 3 or 4 times just to try and get that to sit right, and it's just not sitting right. No matter how much I press it or do whatever, it's just not sitting right. So that's the underside of that, and that's the underside of that, and that was just a DIY sort of vent and lining. But I have rediscovered it, and I am actually liking it. So the Heather Blazer is kind of boxy, so there's no actual shape or fitting to it, but it's quite nice still. And as I say, I have rediscovered it, and I'm really enjoying wearing it actually. So what I was going on about the sleeve cap. So I do have a slight, I don't know if you can see this sleeve cap here. So that is kind of what I'm aiming for, but a little bit more sort of structured. And also I don't like these drag lines here as well, which is just annoying me. But yeah, so that's the coat that I didn't like, and that's why I wanted to make a new coat. But now I've rediscovered it, I don't mind it so much. I am wearing it now as well. So anyway, so that's it. That's the end of this vlog, I think. So this evening I'm hoping to interface my other pieces that need to be interfaced fully, and then I can start actually piecing the wool pieces together. And then probably I'll stop at the welt pocket, and then maybe do another vlog, and then hopefully do the third, and yeah, maybe I'll do a bit more actually. And then hopefully the third vlog will probably be like attaching the lining, finishing touches, and then the garment reveal. And I think that is all I wanted to talk about. Yes, I was hoping to, I think this will be a Friday Sews vlog, because I was hoping to do a Friday Sews vlog as well, but maybe this could double up as a Friday Sews vlog, only because I have made 1, 2, 3 items already that if I don't do a Friday Sews vlog, I'll probably just do a roundup. And also I've purchased a couple of bits. Oh, the other thing as well that Kenneth recommended was Wigan, which I don't know if you guys know what Wigan is. Apparently back in the day, Wigan was actually made from horsehair interfacing, or horsehair fabric, which is slightly like thicker and rougher. And it's basically Kenneth from Craftsy. He uses the Wigan to interface the cuffs and the hems of coats. And but nowadays the Wigan isn't actually, well, real Wigan is still made out of horsehair, but I think it's quite hard to find. But nowadays people just use polycotton and they call it Wigan, and that is what I ended up getting. So it's basically just bias cut polycotton, and I got this from a specialist shop. Actually, I'm not sure what it's called now. I'll pop it up there. But now I'm thinking it's just polycotton. I don't know how you'd have to sew that in. I guess you'd have to sew that in as well. So it's just kind of bias cut polycotton, and I suppose that just stabilizes sort of the hems and the cuffs of things. But with the sew over it pattern, the hems and the cuffs are actually interfaced with the tailoring interfacing, which I think will suffice, because it is a lovely weight, the tailoring interfacing. So I think that will suffice. So I don't think I'll have to use a Wigan, but I can keep that in my stash for something else. But anyway, if there's any questions about the Vivienne coat, please do comment below. And if this coat goes well, I am hoping to make, hopefully, the Romana. I'm not sure. Or it might be, I quite like this boxy style, actually. So I'm hoping to make, I think, is it the Avid Seamstress? I think they have like a boxy kind of blazer style coat, but I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see where we get to. Also, I've got a couple of presents to make as well for people. We've had another new baby in the family, another nephew, and just a couple of bits and pieces. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please do kindly like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Any comments or questions below, please let me know. Any questions about the Vivienne coat, especially because I'm really getting my teeth into it and I'm really actually enjoying it. But yes, in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. See you again next time. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.